So do we call this? So is this episode 5? What's happening right now?
I think we're up to 5. Yeah.
This right here.
Yeah.
Like this moment.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right here.
No, this one right here. This moment.
Which one?
That, like right. This one right here. Right here.
You're being
now.
really kind of vague. Could you say
right now? Right here. This moment. Is this episode 5?
It's a little bit like
right
a boundary issue here. I think, and just touching a bit on communications as a challenge, really.
Well, you figure out what I mean. I mean, it's all. We each have our own reality now, don't we? You believe what you believe. I'll believe what I believe. But I'm saying we're starting episode 5 right this minute. It's starting right now.
Let me check with Vladimir. Hold on.
Chapter 1.
Here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Having the Jonestown thing, the Nexium thing, which is, and the leader of Nexium, Keith Raniere, is now in jail. I don't, and as are a bunch of his like inner circle. The story is out of control. It's crazy, but a lot of like manipulation of women and sexual gaining. Keeping people in place through this kind of it was kind of like a multi-level marketing scheme of self-help, which turned into this just very, very ugly thing. And there's an HBO documentary that Liz and I are both watching and about the case, and it's just the details of it are just incredible. And it doesn't say much, but my question is like, you have experience with this stuff, you know.
I do.
I just keep thinking about you in this, and like watching people in the Nexium case. Do you remember you and I watched What the Bleep? Remember we saw that movie? Yeah,
that really bothered me.
Yeah, I know. The guy that made that movie
went to UCSD, my college, I think.
Did he?
I believe
Mark, what's his name? I can't remember his last name, but he was one of the central people in Nexium, and then his wife got out. She's like, this is a friggin' cult, and he didn't want to hear it. And then he eventually figured out and just like was able to extract himself. And so he got out, and then they're working to get people out. It's really interesting. So yeah, that connection to What the Bleep. But again, so my question, like, because you know you were in the inner circle of Rama in your cult. Am I right about that? You were close with him and
very.
Yeah, and there were. How many people at that time? 1,000?
1,000, yeah.
Jeez. And you were close to him.
Well, the women were always more powerful in the organization other than him, but of the men, I was the right-hand man, or sometimes I was not, but I was always in the inner circle. But he moved people around, but there were times when I was the guy, you know. I was one of 2 people who in this lifetime could attain full enlightenment.
Jeez.
So I was, you know, people looked at me like I was some kind of demigod when I was 21 years old. So I, you know, in my own goofy way, I wielded power. I was seduced by all that. So yeah, I was definitely
at 21.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, the feeling, I haven't even gotten actually to my question yet, but the feeling that must create in one or in you or in somebody must be very empowering.
Well,
or I don't know if that's the word.
I would use the word intoxicating. Because power is very exciting. It's titillating. It's heady. It's like a big rush. One does things one wouldn't normally do. With that flowing through one, it's
and it must be so hard to see anything but, keeping that power going, or that connection going to the center.
You want more.
To be, yeah.
You want more. Once you have power, you want more power. That's how it works. It's not a balance. Power, the seduction by power is not a balanced affair. It draws you in, and you shift as you get closer to that inner center, that gravity. You yourself transform. The closer to the center of that power you get, you're no longer who you were. There's a transformation there, and you become the power. You become a desire for more of it. You
become a desire for more of it?
Yeah, your core becomes hollowed out, and it becomes a conduit for want of more power. Yeah, it's quite a journey.
Gosh.
Quite a journey. And what's fascinating is to come out of that and unravel that and say, I'd like to go back to where I was. Thank you very much.
Must take years.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how one starts to, just watching the folks in this documentary on NXIVM, how long it takes to admit, because once you admit that, there are cracks here, there's problems. This is an issue with religion too, right? People, you can't say it, you can't admit that anything is not is mistaken, because then that starts to put everything in doubt.
Depends on the religion.
Correct. But people that are holding, and I guess when we're in a kind of a cult situation where the belief and the core is very strong, if you start to doubt things, well, it must be really hard. It must be very hard to doubt things, because once you do, the punishment that you face, the people that talking about the lawsuits in NXIVM that they faced for years because they left the group, lawsuits. And
so, Eric,
tell me,
the real punishment happens within. The real punishment happens with what one does to oneself. That's the hard part.
You mean when you're inside the cult?
Correct. It's the main journey. Like the stuff that you're seeing is, it's more the sensational bit. Oh my gosh, there was media reports, and she did this, and he said this to her, and
right,
and then they left, and they got divorced, and that's like exterior stuff, and that's big and it's important. But for me, the real journey, the bigger journey, is the interior journey, where you fight against yourself. And that's really what happens inside a cult. You become your own worst enemy.
Wow. Is this in line with when you're pushing away your family and pushing away? That's the same time or same kind of thing.
That's part of that transformation, where you're taking oneself with the assistance and guidance of the leader and the group, and you're sublimating it, and you're learning a new language. And the language that you used to use becomes taboo. And every cult leader is going to teach, in a slightly different way. But overall, what they're doing is teaching people to sublimate their identity. And that gets lost. But there's still kind of a shadow of it. And when the cult leader does something, there's kind of there's these tremors of memories of who one was that comes out. And largely that gets ignored, but sometimes it doesn't. And
within yourself, you're saying?
Within. So let me give you an example. If you happen to be a Trump cultist and he says something that's, is completely nuts, but you've bought into his system, his language, his set of morals or lack thereof, there's something within you think this is wrong. This is not how it's supposed to be. But then there's some group think, everyone with their red hats, or there's something, there's fake news, there's some statement, some set of words, like a phrase, that's used to block the thoughts that would normally come back and say, no, that's not right, and think it through. It's sort of like there could be a phrase that's like a dead end phrase, like just saying fake news. It doesn't lead anywhere. It doesn't lead to other thoughts. It doesn't lead to openness and transparency and analysis. So, fake news. Oh, okay. Fake news. And that's what a cult leader does, is they propagate and cultivate phrases like that. And they plant these, it's a linguistical planting, if you will. And they plant these phrases inside people's brains. Words have power. Words are memes, and they resonate inside the brain and the psyche, and they generate emotion and feeling. Words have a lot of power. Yeah. Unlike what the deconstructionists purportedly say. And so the real difficult journey, an amazing journey, talk about travel, is when someone joins a cult and that cult goes from relatively benign into something that starts moving into the dark sphere. And the real journey is not like, oh my God, we moved to California, and oh my God, I got divorced, or oh my God, I lost my car. This is like what the media focuses on. You gave them $20,000. Oh my God. That's all right, that's interesting. It's too bad, whatever, but that's not the real journey. The real journey is what happens as one's identity gets swept under out of fear and through almost like linguistic programming, if you will, and through group, peer pressure and seduction by power.
So you think are we going through this on a scale of millions of people right now with Trump?
We are. It's playing out. It's interesting from the point of view of people who've been in destructive cults, such as myself, because this is all so familiar, this internal landscape, and people are like, oh my God, what's happening to us? And those of us who've been in cults are sort of like saying, hey, this is what it's like to be in a destructive cult. But people don't want to associate what Trump's behavior is like with a cult because saying the word cult is so taboo.
Chapter 2.
I listened to an amazing book called Blowout by Rachel Maddow.
Isn't she incredible? I friggin' love Rachel Maddow.
She's brilliant. What a storyteller.
What an intellectual. What a storyteller.
One of my favorite parts of listening to her read her own book was the humor. She's just really funny.
She's really funny.
Her sarcasm is cutting and hilarious. So
and the way she reads it too.
Oh my gosh. So I'm just remembering, for example, there's this, I mean, the book is about the corrosive power of oil and gas just to corrupt everything it touches in the environment, meaning ecologically speaking, but also just politically within a government, and how it's not good for democracies in the short or long term. And I remember there was a section, there's so many of them, but one stands out in my mind right now about the country of Equatorial Guinea, where the president has has a son, like
his son,
who just has so much money to play with, all from oil money or oil and gas money, and it's a lot of money. And he's like,
a lot of money.
The way she's describing how he's trying to this young prince seems so lazy and it's like this spoiled
so
kid.
Pitiful too.
Oh yeah, and they're
going to Hawaii and
trying to befriend Michael Jackson and buying his gloves from his concerts and walking around with boxes full of cash and all his cars, and she goes on. It's almost like an epic book. An epic is like a book that often contains long lists, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, and the lists of the warriors, Agamemnon and Achilles, and blah, blah, blah. She's going on, Rachel Maddow's going on and on about all the things this guy was buying and all his depraved behaviors.
Totally. And the what is it called? This problem of the resource curse.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what it's called? That these countries that they have oil, but it's almost like they're destined to be poorer because of it, because only the very upper echelon benefits from the oil. And it's happening in Russia. Mm-hmm. It's happening, Equatorial Guinea is an extreme example where it's like the country is utterly poor and they have tons of money. They have tons of oil. But
and she makes the case about how in Equatorial Guinea, despite the ruling family's incredible wealth, I think the president was the president, quote unquote, the dictator is the sixth most wealthy person on earth, something like that.
Jesus.
But then the average person living there is like they have no access to healthy this or food or water or whatever. Like they're living on like $1 a day or something like that. That's just astounding. And then it comes back not just to Russia and Equatorial Guinea and all these other places, but then she brings the story back to the United States, doesn't she?
Yep. I mean, there's the Oklahoma, the fracking in Oklahoma, the lying to the population in order to extract more natural gas and oil.
So these earthquakes going on. Oh no, it wasn't us.
No, nothing to see here.
No, don't look here. Nothing here. And then the
God.
The deep sea spill
Oh, Deep Horizon
spill.
Oh my God.
And again, she was hilarious. Talking
Deepwater
about,
Horizon. What was that called? Oh my God.
It's talking about the most profitable companies on Earth that were supposed to have a set of procedures if there's a spill like that. And nobody really had one because...
paper towels.
She had paper towels and diapers and she's like, tires, and they're using all these crazy things to try to plug up the hole. It's just hilarious the way she put it. Of course, it was darkly humorous.
Correct. Right. I mean, they have no interest in actually knowing how to clean up something.
No.
Like, the interest lies in making money.
Right. And they even said that they want to prevent things from happening because we're not really prepared for dealing with it. And I guess the government and these huge corporations are so intertwined that it's really hard for any government to check their power.
To check the oil, to check their own power, or check the oil company's power?
The oil company's power.
Right. Because it's all enmeshed. Is that the word?
Absolutely.
It's all intertwined. I was amazed learning about Rockefeller's money. I know about Rockefeller, but man,
that's a lot. He had a lot of power.
That's a lot of power, a lot of dough.
Kind of a monopoly, and all that money flowed into the coffers of one person. It didn't. I think about other energy sources like solar and wind, and it's just really harder to concentrate that kind of power because you can put solar panels on your rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
And you can benefit from it. I have. And then I started thinking, it's actually interesting that we're discussing this today because today I made a big move. I bought a Tesla.
I know. And I'm going to get a Tesla roof.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll have to come visit. My car will come sit under your roof. I got a
That's
Model.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I bought a Model 3 today.
I love it. I love it.
Long range. It can go 322 miles.
Wow.
On a single charge.
Dude, you've driven it?
No.
This car is insane.
But here's something beautiful about this. It's a dark story, but there are ways around the darkness in that the oil and gas industries and the kleptocracies and the greed and the power is so pervasive around the planet. But there's a simple way to sidestep it. And that is just to say no to oil and gas as individuals. And there's nothing they can do about it. It's just taking away their power. Just don't support them. We don't need it. We could insulate our houses better. We could put up solar panels on our roofs. And we can get electric vehicles, and we'll actually end up saving ourselves money.
You know what Reagan did when he came into power?
He took down the solar panels in the White House.
He took down the solar panels.
I remember that.
Carter had put up.
And they were fully functional. They worked great. So if you take an area in the state of New Mexico that is, I don't know, like a quarter the size of the state, no, it'd be less than that. It could power, and you put up solar panels, it could power all the electrical needs of the entire United States. And a lot of that area is desert. And you could do it in such a way that the lizards and plant life could be fine if it was done intelligently.
I'm sorry, done how?
Intelligently.
I mean, where you like think it out and how it's going to actually benefit people. I mean, why not just build a wall there? Build a big wall. Get everyone to cheer while you're talking about it. And be like, I'm going to build a big wall, and everyone cheers. Wouldn't that'd be good.
Do you have an image in your mind? I just found an image. You know, sometimes I go through my hard disk in my brain and I find images of someone going down or going up an elevator. I'm sorry, an escalator. Because I wonder if we can hit the reset button and have the elevator go in the opposite direction. Just undo all that. So here's another way. It's like, I joined a cult when I was younger. I wonder if there's a way I can undo that and go back and just... On the other hand, I've learned a lot. Maybe the good news is that the United States will have learned a lesson about cults after this experience, if we get through it as a nation.
What about Rockefeller and... if only I was fascinated to think about that he really laid and talking about being able to go back. The model that everyone's followed for all this time was laid by him.
In what sense, Eric?
Well, all of that pursuit of oil, and you suck out of the ground, and that was this American kind of innovation. And then so like China's followed that innovation, and Russia and in the Middle East, and they've all followed that model of realizing there's this like, what do you call it? Carbon, this material underground. It's created
decaying dead things.
Correct.
That
you can just
compressed.
Stick a needle down in there and suck it out. And then put it into all these machines and make them go fast. And how that answered a human desire to, you were talking about what give us certainty. Now because before I wanted to go from here to there, and it would take me 3 days. And along the way, I'd be riding my horse, and I would sing songs on the horse, and I'd stop along the way, but now screw all of that, because now I can get from here to there in 30 minutes, right? So now the certainty has arrived, right? Because now, because that's what we've been waiting for all along, was to be able to get that much faster.
There are times when power accumulates in very few people's hands, such as Mr. Putin's hands. And his hands are dirty.
Oh, my God.
With oil money.
Could you believe those stories? Anybody who gets too powerful. I mean, he made a deal with the oligarchs. He's like, look, I'll let you all keep your money, but don't
cross me.
Don't cross me. Let me do what I'm doing, and I'll let you do what you're doing.
And give me a cut.
And give me a cut. And that one guy, they basically took that guy's company. What was the company?
Well, they would jail somebody.
They jailed him, and they took his company. It's just like utter highway robbery. And they don't care. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, no. I get that, Eric, and he did that with a number of oil companies and large companies around the world, and the Crimea, and he's definitely a power play. But one thing he would never do, and I think we have to give Mr. Vladimir Putin credit for this. He would never shake down a U.S. president, and hold anything over them so that they became his puppet. Oh, sorry. Something in my... Yeah.
Putin's puppy?
Yeah, I had a peach in my throat. Sorry. Anyway, I just thought that Maddow is such a storyteller, and her stories are so colorful. She painted this industry in such a three-dimensional, colorful, interesting way. And it was just fascinating. The story about there's like 28 chapters. Each chapter is an in-depth story. The chapter about the spies, the spy rings.
Oh my God.
They were caught in like
that.
New Jersey or something. And how incompetent they were.
How incompetent. They were the impetus to, once, who was that guy? It was like in Romania somewhere. That got into Colin Powell's and all these different people's emails and caused some havoc, all from his village in Romania. Is that where it was? Mm-hmm. That the Russians kind of did a reset. They were like, they were trying to like keep the Cold War spying going, into the 2000s, and they were utterly failing at it. Wait, we don't have to do any of that. Let's just get a building in Moscow and we put a bunch of young, computer savvy people in there and let them just run havoc. The way she made it sound that like the kind of the rot of Russian, the Russian system. They're just pouring into our system, and no, don't want to feel conspiratorial about it, but she makes it pretty plain. It's just like it's real easy.
It's easy. You don't need tanks. You don't need to have advanced weaponry. You just need a bunch of
spies who speak 5 languges and are trying to hide their identity. You don't need any of that.
You just need a bunch of people. No. A few years ago, you just needed a building, a gray building, and a bunch of guys, and I assume they're all guys. I don't know if that's true. Who just figure out people's passwords and hack into things. But now, that was a few years ago. Now that's not needed. All you need is a Facebook account, and Mark will help you through.
Right. And you say, hey, we're meeting. So, there was that case of the I think it was I'm trying to remember, like it was the anti-Muslim group that they fanned the flames of that, and they said, we're going to meet on this corner on September 23rd at 4:00. And then the same, folks organized another like pro-Muslim protest. This is in the States on the other corner at the same time. It's just like just enjoying lighting the tinder, watching it.
Watch America disintegrate.
It's
let America fight itself.
Here in Gettysburg, we had a situation where a guy created these fake, flag burnings, Antifa flag burnings on July 4th at the Gettysburg at the battlefield. And a bunch of militia guys showed up with their guns and their flags, and it was a complete hoax. And I was like, wow, boy, they'll fall for anything. But Rachel Maddow's book made me realize it's not just, people on the right that are falling for this stuff. It's a lot of all of us. Like, I'm like, God, what have I seen that I thought was that I, like on YouTube or somewhere, and maybe say, hey, what is this? And it makes you wonder, and so that's what Putin's plan, basically, I hate to say it, is like make you not know what to believe.
Right.
You don't have to like make people believe something. You just have to make them question if the sky is blue, is it actually blue.
There's something really bold about Rachel Maddow taking Putin on like that. I wonder if she was concerned for her safety, because people who go up against Putin get poisoned.
I think she's like going for broke, man. She's brilliant. Just like, F it, man.
Sometimes, yeah.
Put it on the table.
Put it on the table. Sometimes you just have to put it out there. And I get that. I did that with my first book. I took on a Trump leader. I use Trump as the word cult.
Synonymous.
It's synonymous with cult. A Trump leader. Oh, I like that. Yes. Trump is a Trump leader. So I did that when I wrote a book about a cult leader. I just thought, all right, I could be taken out for this, but you know what? That's their problem. I'm just gonna follow my muse and my heart and just say what happened.
That's what in the NXIVM story, there's these folks who just say, all right, let's go. All right, New York Times wants us to like go on the record. Okay, I'm doing it. Because most people were like, no, I'll talk, but I don't want to be on the record. And these folks were like, all right, we'll go on the record.
Yep.
And they did, and it got printed and like front page of the Times, and that propelled the whole thing to unravel.
Right. Once you say your name, and it takes on a certain power.
Right.
And it's the power of truth. And the problem right now in America is not that we have a cult leader as president. It's not that the human massive citizens are like sheep. That's sort of to be expected. That's just how the species goes. The problem is that the real problem is that so very few people are taking a leadership, courageous step. And usually there's one or two, there's the John McCains, and then there's the what was his, Howard Baker, was that his name? In the Watergate trials, there were Republicans who stepped forward and said, this isn't right. I don't support this president. And we don't see that now.
Right.
You see little half steps from Mr. Romney, and God bless him for having the guts to do that. But most of them are just absolute cowards. Every single one, except for bits of Mr. Romney. And that's the problem with this country, is the spinelessness of these leaders. And let it always be said in history that they've done that. And let it go down. And so it was. And that's just how it is. And they will have to face that for the rest of their lives.
Chapter 3.
So wait. Let me go back to the Karate Kid. Is that X on, X off? X on, X off. Which reminds me, Eric, there's something I need to tell you, but I have no idea what it is. But let me try. Okay, I'm done. Your turn. No, stop interrupting me. No, wait a minute. So I'm sorry. This is like the inner cult thing going on here. So I have a story about Mr. Peach. I don't know if this is true. This is just something I heard. And this is what Trump says. He says, I don't know if
pit to full.
Pit of full. That's the whole thing about Peach, is pit of full. And so Trump will say, well, I heard that Mr. Asparagus was...
They say.
Exactly. They say. And what that is really code for is he's just making shit up in his own head. And I don't want to talk about Mr. Asparagus. He's too straight for me. But anyway, this is something I heard, and it has to do with Mr. Peach was really making a play for the green... I guess
nude
a lot of... Well, yeah, I think it was nude. A lot of peaches go that way. They unpeel. But it was sort of... A lot of peaches start as green, and they turn kind of rotten to the core. But it takes a while. But that's not... But my whole point is, I think Mr. Peach was making a play. He was going to go with an electric vehicle. He's like... putting up windmills all over, like Oklahoma.
Totally.
Everywhere.
Yes. The earthquakes did those windmills in.
It was on shaky grounds, I would agree.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But there's no proof positive that it has anything to do with fricking or fracking or ticking or tacking or...
No, in fact,
sticking that needle in.
The tic-tac needle thing was just, I took the tic-tac needle and the damage done. Anyway, so, but here's the weird part. All right, I'm done. Oh, did you want to hear? I'm sorry.
Oh man, I totally did.
Oh,
you set me up. It was like, is this a cult thing where you play with my you play with my fragility or my?
I had a Frigidaire once. It's very cold. But
very cold, right?
Mr. Peach started off by going green, but something happened on the way to the supermarket, and that was that is this a bulk statement now? I think he decided to go and become an oil and gas man,
right?
And it was a big,
very stinky.
It was a very stinky process, and that's what happens when these fruits ungas. You know, that's why you don't leave them in bags. You don't. And what happens? He started to drill. You've heard the term "drill, peachy drill."
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm fracking.
You're freaking. Fracking when I'm doing this fricassee. So what he started doing was he started going down and then horizontal, which is a little bit dicey where I come from. You know what I mean? hey, sailor.
Dicey, nicey,
horizontal, and
icy.
Well, what happened was he started going into a holy place. And he started fracking with the natives. And at first it felt good. You know what I mean? And then it didn't feel so good. And then what he started doing to fill up the hole? And I don't mean to get perverse here. I can stop if you want me to stop. Should I stop?
Dude, does this involve that like water that they pump back into the earth after you frack and frick? Yes, exactly. Right into the hole.
Exactly. Yes. Except in certain circles, you don't want to discuss that at the dinner. Anyway, what happened was they started pouring spinach into the hole. And if you could imagine, this thing was going to blow. And so they, like 3,000 feet, the pressure on that spinach was unbelievable.
Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your spinach?
I think down there they found a lot of iron. And a couple of radishes. So that's what happened. They started growing large vegetable gardens to stop the gas and oil from fracking up into people's fracking faces. And
it was a Rockefeller plan, wasn't it?
It was a Frackefeller plan, exactly.
Frackamuller. The Muller. Frackamo, whack-a-mole.
I think we should investigate Muller. Is that a mole, or are you just glad to see me? So I think what happened was he got corrupted by his own peach. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The more he stuck it into the earth, if you know what I mean, the better it felt. And the better it felt, the wetter it got.
the wetter he dealt.
The more they dealt, the wetter it felt. Until it got svelte.
Svelte? And then they got the belt.
But the whole belt thing, exactly. But the thing is, that's what I heard. Did you hear differently?
Moo. The herd? The sheep. I'm sorry. The sheep. They creep into your sleep, and they just kind of make a little peep. And just when you think you might get away from the sheep,
then Putin shows up on a bear. Now, the last thing you're going to want to do is do what Trump did in that last presidential quote-unquote debate. And that
was very presidential.
He, just like Mr. Peach with the you-know-what, he inserted into the earth just little memes. And with Trump, it was really little. You know what I mean?
Tiny, tiny, little.
Yeah.
You know what they say.
Yeah. It was just this little, and you don't want to just insert little thought patterns to make people think.
You want to insert thought patterns to make people drink. Just a little, takes the edge off. Sweet liquor eases the pain. Makes us all want to go to Spain. Just hang out in the rain.
Did you ever propose a toast? Do you know how that works? Let's say you're in Spain in the rain, and you're sitting there, just like Mr. Peach, getting very moist in the earth, and then you propose a toast. Kind of a soggy proposition.
Is there wine involved? Like 79
I'm
cent?
tired. Is that what you meant?
Well, I used to sit with friends and my guitar and like a box of wine, and the box of wine literally cost like 80 cents.
Is that like a box of rain?
Just a box of wine.
Do, 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 do. So
those were the days.
I guess my question at this point would be,
please,
are we getting paid for this?
Yes.
Okay.
In Reese's Pieces.
Wow.
Yeah. It's by the hour, and they keep your energy going. And so if you want to get up and like scream and shout about, how it's all fake news, just eat some more Reese's Pieces.
Is the fake news fake news?
Yes.
And is that fake news? How many layers, just like in fracking, let's say you go horizontally, which Mr. Peach really likes. Let's say you go horizontally and then you go cut over a few hundred feet, and the pressure is incredible. Like all the sauerkraut and spinach forcing its way into the earth. It's kind of exciting in a way. But what would that do to the Reese's Pieces?
Well, it depends, because if they're in the Washington Post, it's fake news. Except if Reese's Pieces, imagine you're E.T. Are you familiar with E.T.? The extraterrestrial?
Well, I know E.T. reads Jennifer Rubin's column, but keep going.
Yes, exactly. And he's all about the Reese's Pieces. But if it's in the Washington Post, then it's fake news. So how do you define fake news? Is it only
it has to
stuff
do with,
you don't want to read about?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Mark, your fake news.
Yes. If I were to say to you, did you go to an elite university, what would you say? Or better yet, what would you not say?
You have no proof that I did, and you don't have any proof that I didn't either. How's that for an argument? Prove to me that there are no tunnels under the pizza shop. Well, you can't prove that there aren't. Maybe they were there and then they filled them in. Prove they didn't. You can't prove that they didn't, can you?
Who has more fun, the people who are elite or the people who have feet? In other words, if we're going to have class warfare, which class is it? High or low?
6th grade, 7th grade.
Yeah.
8th grade. And is it going to involve like throwing Reese's Pieces at each other?
Ouch. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it right now.
That could be interesting. It could just be a battle with candy. Reese's Pieces.
How about like have a game, a board game called Fracking? And what you do is you put the board game down, and then you have this like 40,000 ton drill that goes right through the center of the board game, and it goes down, and you're sitting there with your kids, and you have little glasses, little mugs of hot chocolate with little tiny marshmallows in it, and it's almost bedtime, and it's little Susie's got a little onesie on, and you have this like 40,000 ton fracking thing spewing out like the worst vile propane and mopane and lopane and gropane, smopane, and even Spokane, which is a big chunk of Washington State. I mean, it's really hard
Don't forget the propane.
The propane. Okay. Yo, bro.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you have to say before you praying it. And then you just like, and meanwhile, it's like, Daddy, can I go to bed now? Shut up. You just stay right there. We're going to play this.
You play the game till the end.
We're going to play this game and we'll see how it plays out because this is what Putin wants with his Mutin. And when Newton comes with his Putin, don't go sprutin his Newton. Anyway, that's with the fig. I know you're eating a fig earlier, so this is like a fig Newton. So anyway, Putin with his fig Newton comes in, and this 40,000 hydraulic ton freaking thing goes right through the center of the freaking board game, right through the cute little nice rug with like the nice little floor. And
are you yellow or green or blue? Which is your piece color?
I'm spinach.
Green.
Well, no, it's because of the propane, the smopane. The green spinach is actually turned yellowish orange because Mr. Peach is rotten to the core.
But so if your game is fracking, it's funny because on the other side of the street they were playing this game called Lacking. It was really interesting.
I don't think anyone was there. They were all lacking.
There was no game. There was a board, but everyone was bored, and they just sat there. And they adored the game Lacking, and they did nothing but create like an imagination about what the game was actually. Did you hear about the game Lacking? Oh, it involves like the CIA. Actually, the CIA monitors when you're playing. They monitor everything you're doing.
Is this
and
the?
Says,
oh my gosh!
Yeah. Oh wow!
This is like the elite CIA, right? They all went to Johns Hopkins and the University of Pennsylvania, where you actually learn things.
And they want to know. They want to spy on you and find out all of Reese's Pieces you're eating, because then it makes life a lot more exciting if the CIA is after you.
Oh my gosh!
And especially if you know that Barack Obama bin Laden. Whose birth certificate was printed in somewhere down in South America. I think. Didn't you go there to that village where it was printed?
I did. And it was printed on Mrs. Hillary's, you know what? It's just incredible that you could do that.
It's just like, it's amazing that these people they get away with what they get away with. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. They had Hillary Clinton's, you know what, is another name for her server. And, you know, people have been talking about Hillary's server, referring to this game, Lackey.
Server as in, like, bringing drinks?
Exactly. People use... Oh, my God, I can't believe you said that. You must have gone to Johns Hopkins, and you're one of those stingy elites. Because the thing is, people have been talking about Hillary's server, but they didn't realize, because they're all playing this game Lackey right across from Wacky Backy, they didn't realize that they're talking about someone who's just bringing her something, you know, serving her something to eat.
Serving her, because, you know, she's like the master.
She's the master manipulator. You know how I know this? Because her lips move when she talks.
Right, totally. I noticed that too.
Like claws and crabs on a infinitely orange horizon of Tabasco sauce.